This is The Back Pass, a podcast for sports nerds by sports nerds.
On tonight's episode of The Back Pass, we'll be talking Test cricket. That is pretty much a wrap for this 2-year cycle of the World Test Series, barring an Ireland tour of Sri Lanka and England. And we have a look at all the action that's just wrapped up. Hello and welcome to The Back Pass. My name is Ali Bilwala. I am joined with our regular cricket panel of Kevin, Shivank, and welcome back, Mr. Cricket, Sid. Lots of cricket going on.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Sid, there's been a lot of cricket on offer.
It has been actually, and a lot of quality cricket actually, I would say.
So a lot less reverse sweeps and test matches.
Can we not bring that up again, please?
I guess the Aussies...
Can we sweep the reverse
Aussies,
sweep out of the ground?
I thought about that. Post that Delhi test, when I think in half an hour, they just pretty much got reverse swept away or swept away, whichever way you want to put it. They won the next test, which is good. Come to the fourth one, and I see a lot of wickets actually fell to spin. And they were actually sweeping those spinners. So funny enough, I think they said, well, what's to lose? Let's give it a go. Eventually they got out. But yeah, there has been a lot of cricket lately, a lot of meaningless ODIs.
What's an ODI?
What's meaningless? I don't know what it is. Surprisingly, in the 2 one-days played in India, they haven't got to 200 as yet.
It's a shocker.
It is a shocker. And they've played in Mumbai and Visakhapatnam, two of the flattest pitches in India.
If they were playing a T20, they would have scored 200 at least.
Like 80 all out, 85 all out or something.
Speaking of ODIs, sorry, I know this is a show about Test cricket, but speaking of ODIs, can we get Natarajan to do some throwdowns to Surya Kumar? It's like 2 ODIs, same ball, same dismissal. Can we just get Natarajan or some left-hander to swing some balls into Surya Kumar so he can get his footwork and everything right?
It's funny, I watched his dismissal for both one days, and he's not actually being able to read the ball that's actually coming back in.
Yeah.
Same happened to KL Rahul, same happened to Virat Kohli. It's like all of a sudden we forgot how to play left arm in swing.
The even more surprising thing is that's Mitchell Stark's bread and butter. That in-swinger.
Yeah. Something he didn't get in the test match. But yeah, it is surprising. We've had likes of Zahir Khan, we played all these fast bowlers. Even Nehra on his day used to swing the ball back in.
Irfan Pathan.
Irfan Pathan, that's it. So yeah, something is missing. I don't know what it is, but something is missing.
And now coming back to Test cricket, yeah, I'm glad they reserved the sweeping for just the dust balls and not for flat tracks. Or when they tried sweeping on a flat track, the consequence was obvious.
Yeah. Can I just say, and I think, Ali, you asked the question, there's been a lot of cricket. One thing that has stood out for me the last so many matches I've seen, Kane Williamson.
Oh,
the guy has been in exceptional form. Shivank and I, we called about it that he should give up his captaincy. And I think a lot of people questioned us that, are you out of your mind or something? Kane Williamson, the greatest ever cricketer to play for New Zealand. And we agree to that. However, I think the pressure was getting to him. And again, his stats, like I posted something in the group today, 3 tests, 367 runs or something like that.
Phenomenal.
Just phenomenal. And just how much difference it makes when he's only, a batter playing in the team.
Yeah.
Just on a different level.
Look, there's an extraordinary amount of pressure on you when you are the team's best player and also supposed to be the leader. Like, it's not something that comes to everyone naturally. And sometimes after a string of bad results, and like a series of bad results demonstrated by New Zealand's form after the WTC Championship 2 years ago has been pretty poor in Test cricket. So that obviously takes a toll on you and your game. So, yeah, kudos to New Zealand cricket for giving the captaincy to Tim Southee instead, or Latham when not available, and allowing Kane Williamson to come back to his very best.
And it's interesting that he's kind of come back into his T20 form. Into his Test form. And does he carry that into the IPL and the T20 now? How much of a transition is Test cricket? Because if you look at the calendar, there's the Test cricket kind of dries up until the World Test Cricket Championship.
Yeah. The only series left between now and then is the Ashes.
No, that one's after the Ashes. So that the Ashes coming after the Test Championship.
Other than the final, and that is a bit bizarre from ICC's point of view. You've got the two finalists, and what ICC is actually saying, relax, boys, we're not going to play for next 3-4 months, so just take it easy. We'll see you in June. And we'll see you in June when it's actually raining in England. So, so if it doesn't happen, we'll have a 6th day. And of course, India will collapse on day 6 and Australia will win.
Well, the interesting part about that World Test Championship and the date on it as well is it is 2 weeks after the IPL wraps up. So a big chunk, obviously, of the Indian national team is going to be part of the IPL and going to be playing a lot of T20. And, you'd say some of the solid, like at least I think there's like 7 to 8 Australian players who feature in the bigger Test team, the wider Test team, that'll be in the IPL too. So there's going to be a World Test final, which basically all the players have just come out of playing T20 and going straight into Test cricket.
So you're changing formats, you're changing continents, you're changing weather conditions, and you're expected to perform at your highest level.
And it's supposed to be a good match, right?
Yeah, and it's supposed to be a good match, yeah.
So I read somewhere that apparently Indian contingent will be given the Duke's ball in the IPL to actually play with, or at least practice with, just so they get used to with the ball. When I was in Brisbane recently, I picked up a Duke's ball just to see what it sort of feels like, different to an SG ball or a Kookaburra ball. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a professional cricketer. Shivank, does it feel any different to you?
Well, okay.
That's a leading question.
Yeah, that's a leading question. Let's start with the basics that I'm not a professional cricketer either. No, but I think the difference lies in the amount of lacquer that's applied and how it wears off. I think that's where you'll actually feel the difference.
It's the type and the amount of lacquer, right? It's a slightly different type and slightly different amount.
Yeah. That's basically the three things.
Seam wears a bit differently, and you get a different amount of weight on it. Yeah. If you bounce it enough on the right side, you get a really good weight imbalance.
Correct. And the other difference is the thread on the ball. So the SG seam has a protruded thread, and this one has a much more, I don't know what the right word is, suppressed thread? I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's one thing I did notice. In saying that, if you look at the Duke's ball in the last couple of years, it hasn't swung with the new ball. It started swinging when it's actually about 10 to 15, 20 years old.
Yeah.
So if they play it during the IPL, I'm not sure what difference it's actually going to make.
Are they going to use it for the entire series? Entire IPL? Or is it just in training? Because then the coaches are going to say, put the ball away, use the actual one we're going to use in the match because we want to win a cricket match.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just, if it's just purely for training, how long are you going to bowl 50 overs with it? Apparently not. So that defeats the whole purpose.
So is the ICC treating the World Test Championship as a warm-up match for the Ashes? I mean, that's the only reason why you would set it up in this manner. Like we've spoken about it before a little bit. The fact that the series is not a series, it's a one match, one-off. In a country where neither team has played or does any warm-ups, this kind of feels like one of those, I don't know what you would call it. It's not a test match. They're kind of like friendlies. It's like Manchester.
Exhibition game.
It's like, Man U versus Wrexham, right? It's not really a game.
Some sort of charity match.
I assume India's Man United and Australia's Wrexham.
At this point in time, yeah, we would go with that.
So you're saying Australia has the more lovable owner?
Yeah, I mean, Australia is a much more lovable country.
Well,
overall, right?
Well, on this chat, we have two people living in Australia. One who's come back from Australia, one who's thinking of going to Australia. So I don't know what we can say about that. So,
on the balance of things.
On the balance of things, yeah. To your point, Kevin, I think you look at the World Test Championship, very close encounters, great series. Comes down to India, Australia, like the last test, New Zealand, Sri Lanka, went down to the last ball before we got who was actually playing Australia in the final. Excellent setup, and then it all fizzles out. They will come back in 3.5 months to play the final. So you've built up the whole World Test Championship for the last 2 years just to basically throw it away is how I actually look at it. If you got to play the final in the next couple of weeks. Play it in Dubai. Play it somewhere. I don't know. Just play.
Yeah. Like keep the momentum going.
Maybe not Dubai. I think it should be in a country where there's enough of a cricket watching population.
Look, Indians will turn up.
Indians will turn up anyway.
But Australians are not going to turn up, right? Like if it's in India, it's better than if it would be in Dubai. And if it's in Australia, it's also better than if it was in Dubai. Both options would be better.
But even if we play at the MCG, it's like 70-30 and 70% of the crowd is Indian, if not more.
Yeah, but you still get 30% Australian. You're not going to get 30% Australian in Dubai, let's be honest.
I have a suggestion. Why not play at Perth? The weather suits.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Perth has, I don't know how much you know about Australia, but Perth is going through this unusual climate-related change.
Crisis.
Yeah, it's been very unusual weather. So I think you'd get like a very interesting whacker pitch, something that.
No, apparently they play at the new stadium now, don't they? The Perth Stadium, whatever that's called.
The Optus Stadium.
Yes. But still, I think like it's not going to be the same sort of Perth pitch that you typically get, which may not be a bad thing. And it raises an interesting point. I think going forward that what they should consider doing is, and I don't know how feasible this is, so I haven't done the math on the dollar figures or anything like that, but if you are doing a test series in another country, you should bring your pitch with you. Right? I mean, most of the pitches are drop-in pitches anyway, right?
Yeah.
So
except Sydney.
Except Sydney, but Sydney can change.
Yeah.
You bring your groundsman with you
maybe we can restrict it a little bit to make it cost effective, but we bring maybe one groundsman with one pitch,
and their choice of roller.
The BCCI is very interested to know how they can doctor pitches in overseas countries.
The word is prepare. Over prepare.
Prepare, sorry. My bad.
Prepare.
Not doctor, prepare. Nobody doctors pitches.
It's only doctoring pitches if the BCCI does it. It's not doctoring pitches when anybody else does it.
Yeah. I mean, the Caribbean would be a nice place to play as well. So
Caribbean. Centurion seems like a good venue this time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in defense of BCCI, India has been to Australia twice. Australia hasn't been able to win those series. They were home pitches.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
In saying that though, with everything that's changed with Indian cricket since the Gabba, I don't feel as confident about the next series India plays down under as I did about the previous two.
I actually agree.
Do you think?
I think they'll get smacked. Absolutely smacked.
Do you think Virat Kohli plays in the next series? I think there's a possibility.
2 years' time, yes. 2 years' time,
2 years' time, yes. Any further than that, hard to say.
He's 36, 37?
He's 34 right now. He's 34.
He's fit enough. If he wants to play, I think he'll be fit enough to play. I mean, Tendulkar played. Tendulkar didn't seem...
He retired at 40.
Well, I have a feeling he'll only be playing Test cricket by then. Post the ODI World Cup this year, I think he'll be done from ODIs.
Most of everyone else has given up on ODIs. I think Virat Kohli's going to give up on ODIs.
Well, after the World Cup, I think
he's doing it for the records at this point.
I think so. Yeah.
The funny, while I agree with the sentiment, I also feel that ODI cricket was his specialty. And so him giving up ODI cricket is like giving up a specialty. But I also know the importance he places on Test cricket, as it was evident during his captaincy. So I can see it happening, but I also know, ODI cricket was basically what he excelled at or excels at.
Not right now.
Well, I mean, he could change his form completely after this 100. He tends to do this, though. Go through like from his history, he goes through periods where he doesn't score any runs, and then he'll go and do a 3-year period where he'll be scoring hundreds every 2 matches or something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just struck a vein of form. Who knows?
Good timing. Works for me.
The only sad thing is that he struck his form in Test cricket when there's no Test to be played in.
He just has to carry it into the IPL. I think he'll have to do his absolute best to make sure that Kohli and Kane Williamson are not like the 99th most effective player in the IPL.
Yeah.
No.
And switching back to New Zealand as well, and the Test series in New Zealand against England, and then the Test series in Sri Lanka, and the discrepancies in that as well with how New Zealand played starting that Test series against England in New Zealand and how they finished, and then they've gone over to Sri Lanka and they've kind of carried that form. What are your thoughts on kind of their progress on it over the next, I guess, now coming up 2-year cycle that they'll kind of go through?
If you talk about New Zealand, I think they should have won from Sri Lanka 2-0 to begin with.
Yeah.
The first Test got way closer than anyone anticipated or expected it to. In saying that, if you ask me honestly, New Zealand cricket's actually going backwards, not forward. Tim Southee as captain, Doug Bracewell as the replacement.
Agree.
So that's not looking forward. So if you took this team to Australia, England, India, even Sri Lanka right now, they will be smacked. Honestly, they will struggle to win in any of those countries.
Mm-hmm. And taking nothing away from how Kane Williamson played in the first Test, I have to say that the main reason Sri Lanka lost the first Test is Sri Lanka. The field setup was very poor when you're trying to restrict the opposition to basically run a ball, especially once the wicket started falling. The amount of gaps they had in the field, giving away easy singles, was basically just inviting pressure.
Yeah, look, one thing I'll say about Sri Lanka is with the stuff that's going on inside the country, to put even a Test cricket team in the field and to play a series is pretty special.
That's a very fair point.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's it's one thing to talk about tactics, but I don't think they really even have a Test team. It's just a handful of cricketers who've played Test at this point in time. And, it might be like this for the next couple of years. And whatever they do, they should be well supported by the international contingent, regardless of where they're playing. And we probably should take it from that lens.
Yeah.
Keeping that in mind, I don't think I completely agree. I think I've said this previously as well, that New Zealand feels much like Australia taking a step backwards. And it's probably has to do with a lack of talent, or maybe the better statement, it's the lack of ability to find good talent and nurture good talent.
I'd also put it down to lack of trust in existing talent. And I keep on bringing the same kid again, Rachin. We've seen how good this kid is with both bat and ball. Why he doesn't get selected to play baffles me. And I'm sure there's more talent.
Let's just put it this way. If Jas Patel played for India and picked up 10 wickets, half a city would have been named after him. He would be a rich man by now. He's struggling to get selected in the team. So that's he was dropped in the Test following that Test in Mumbai which they lost to Bangladesh on a track that was actually turning from day 3 onwards. It was a slow track. They decided not to play a spinner. Baffles me. Don't know why. And again, Rachin is another example. He batted out against Ashwin and Jadeja in one of the test matches. They drew the test match. But then he's not to be seen. He's scoring hundreds in England. He's scoring hundreds in the domestic circuit here. But I don't know. They don't have confidence in him. They don't trust him, whatever the case may be.
Is it also a case of like the domestic game not being strong enough to challenge or not being strong enough to kind of really nurture talent as well? And so it's for the selectors to have confidence in picking them for international cricket.
Then the question would be, on what basis is the current crop actually playing? And then you look at likes of Doug Bracewell, who's actually played after 5 or 6 years or 7 years, whatever the case is. What is the basis of his selection? Something if he selected based on how he performed in Hobart against Australia, he won the test match by I think 7 runs or whatever there was. And that's the point I refer to, that New Zealand cricket's actually going backwards.
Yeah.
If Australia is going 1 step back, New Zealand's actually going 3 or 4 steps back.
And the longer they go not selecting these talents, like, I mean, how many other youngsters get influenced or impacted by these players, not the younger players not getting selected? So how long do they feel like they have to kind of keep at it, until they're 25, 26 before they can even make an international?
Yeah, you don't have to go any further than South Africa to see what happens when you do not prioritize, good cricketing talent. Now, obviously, South Africa's reasons are different. They've got a different criteria. But basically, the likes of Conway or Wagner couldn't play for South Africa, and guess what? They're making the Black Caps like proud of having such talent. Because how many games have these two won for New Zealand in the last 4 years itself? And more, like, I'm just picking top 2, but there's a lot more South African talent that's come in through. Grant Elliott.
Yeah. I'll throw a name for you guys, Corey Anderson, right? I mean, when he came on the scene, he promised a lot. You saw him in the IPL, scored, I think, the fastest century at the time against West Indies, if I'm not wrong, or whoever there was in Queenstown.
West Indies.
The boy could smack the ball. Where is he? He's playing for. He's settled in America.
He's settled in America. Yes.
Yeah, he could be playing for America in the future. And to your point, Ali, a lot of guys will actually go down that path where the leagues are becoming more prominent. That there's money to be made. If you don't play for your country, that's fine. You can play about 3 or 4 leagues in the year and make about $500,000.
Yep.
So you're going to start losing this talent to these leagues, and then the people question, but the country comes first, which is fine. But then the country needs to select those players to actually, give them a chance and actually perform. If they don't, then you risk losing those players.
But and does that also then kind of equate to the international cricket levels like dropping? Because obviously India is like an odd example, but they will always have the numbers and the cricketing talent to sustain, 10 teams themselves. They could literally put up 10 pretty strong teams and have a international competition against most other countries and be fine. But there are other countries that are more heavily impacted, right? Like, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia actually have plenty of cricketers. So you just need to pick the right ones. You just need to give them a chance, give them a shot.
You basically will just come down to 3 countries playing cricket: India, England, Australia, and then everybody else just becomes a feeder country.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think the carryover effect is not so much on cricket in those countries. So I don't think it's cricket specifically in those countries. I think it's the type of cricket that's going to be played going forward. So what we'll have is these great IPL games, but we won't have great test cricket anymore. I mean, that's kind of what's playing out right now. I mean, like if you think about it,
you can see it happening. Correct.
Hasn't ICC just prioritized the IPL over the World Test Cricket Championship?
They have.
Because they've gone, everyone take a break because we have to play the IPL, and then we'll come back for the World Test.
But then that sort of brings a question. Why does ICC actually choose England as the venue? when England hasn't even played in the last two finals? That sort of begs the question: can
these are part of the deals that go down, right? Because England, Australia, and India hold all the keys. So they say, all right, you can have it for 2 years, and then we'll have it for 2 years, and then you guys have it for 2 years.
Yeah, and what Kevin said, about Sri Lanka, they don't have a team right now. They don't have the resources right now. But then, Sri Lanka reminds me of a team, when we used to play as youngsters, and whoever could actually come up and turn up for the game can actually play.
Yeah, exactly.
Is what Sri Lanka team is right now.
Yeah.
They almost beat New Zealand in the opening test in Christchurch, and Christchurch is almost a fortress for Black Caps. So there are teams who can actually do better, but then they need to be given that opportunity, that they need to be playing a lot more tests than what the big three, as they call them in the test scene, do.
Well, there's actually a bit of irony here. The Sri Lankan team, I don't think, was actually picked. There wasn't like a pool of players that they picked from. It was just who was next available, and they did this well compared to what like years of selectors like focusing on trying to pick the best player to fit to this particular team. It proves that most of these people don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just a complete farce. It's like wine tasting. Nobody actually knows.
I'll throw in something, and I could be wrong here completely. I've been married for almost 19 years, but Angelo Matthews was playing before I was married, and he's still
playing.
Now, I don't know if that's my choice or they don't have any other options.
I am happy we now have a new barometer for age that isn't me.
That's true.
Yeah, and for like all the talk about ICC growing the test game and bringing in, like Ireland and other countries into test cricket, we've kind of now gone away from that, and we're potentially looking at in 10, 15 years time where there really only is Australia, India, and England playing test cricket, and everyone else is just playing T20s.
Mm-hmm. Actually, just on that, what happened to Afghanistan? I remember they were based at Dharamshala. They played a couple of tests with Dharamshala as their home venue, even had India play them once. But ever since the whole World Test Championship thing started, they've gone AWOL.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to the change of, the government regime they had in place. Not many countries were sort of willing to, play them or invite them to their country.
Yeah.
So that sort of, never sort of, went ahead. So they have sort of lost somewhere down the track as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It is an interesting one as well with those teams because, Zimbabwe was a previously great test playing nation as well. And now Zimbabwe, West Indies disappeared. Pakistan, obviously political instability, and you really can't tour to Pakistan, and that's causing issues. Ireland,
well, you can if you want to watch a boring test match for 5 days where nothing comes out of it.
Play on the highways. Ireland is doing a couple of tours now, test tours to Sri Lanka. Why not? No one else is kind of going there at the moment with the IPL on.
Yeah, it's the Test cricket is at a very interesting point. If it's going to stay within these three countries, then it's actually sad for the game. If you ask me,
correct.
It has to grow to other countries who can, perform. And Sri Lanka, they have done really well in New Zealand.
Yeah,
way more than anyone would have expected them to. I don't think, and I don't hesitate in saying this, I don't think India would have actually lasted 5 days in Christchurch, the way their track record has been in Christchurch in New Zealand lately.
Yeah.
So this game has to be developed in, other countries other than the big three for this format to actually keep going. Otherwise, the World Test Championship, I think in a few years' time, will lose its charm.
Do you reckon they could do something like the rugby, where they have like a Super 14 or a Super 12s or something like that, where with Test cricket? I think there's like a missed opportunity in having franchise Test cricket. I know that the format makes that very difficult, but because I think the biggest problem right now is that there's not enough Test cricket to develop the young players, and the quality of the county cricket competitions outside of England aren't great. Like even I watched a New South Wales versus Queensland game, and that wasn't. There's a big drop off, quite a big drop off. So I can see why selectors make certain decisions, not all the decisions, but certain decisions around playing talent, picking the older player as opposed to the younger player, because they're just not developing as fast.
Yeah, there's a big difference in crowds as well, and in terms of pressure and those kind of things.
Yeah,
I think franchise cricket would be a great idea for Test. Obviously, it means that messing with like a very old game that breaking traditions, and cricket is very known for not breaking traditions, right? So
they're breaking a lot of traditions.
Well, we've gone down pink ball Test match as it is, just to make it exciting. So why not do something else to just to boost the game?
Can we actually mandate that in any Test series that is 3 tests or longer, 1 test has to be day-night?
Well, to begin with, at least it has to be a 3-match Test series. Like I don't know why New Zealand keeps playing 2
tests. Yeah, actually, good point.
Yeah. And then, coming back to your point, one of the tests has to be a day-night Test match.
Yeah.
Just to make it exciting. I mean, India started doing this 3-4 years ago. And again, we come back to India, school kids get free entry. They invite a couple of schools, bring the kids to watch the Test match. That's how they grow the game. Other countries could follow that lead as well, along with franchise cricket. Something on your point, Kevin, what you said, how we can change the game. Slightly unrelated, I was listening to Sachin yesterday, a couple of days ago. He gave some suggestions. Everyone talks about ODI cricket is dead, this and that. And he gave some suggestions that we should have 4 innings of 25 overs each.
Oh, he's been saying that for a long time.
Yeah. And then I read the comments in social media on the post, and everybody was like, no, you've lost your mind. This is not going to work. And I'm like, the guy has played the game. Listen to him. He's right. The ODI is dying down. You listen to commentators. You listen to everyone. The game is dying down. But then yet people are not willing to listen to anything that is actually suggested.
Okay, I've got some left field ideas. I just want to throw them out just for the end of this, just to finish it off.
Throw them out. Sweep us off our feet.
Let's Test cricket.
Finish up with some sweeping, eh?
I'll get to the sweeping. I have a good point there. So, Test cricket is a war of attrition, right? So why don't they just do a 3-day, day-night Test match where you start at like 8 o'clock in the morning and you finish at 10 o'clock at night, and you have to just play through that.
5-session long test.
5-6 sessions. Make it completely brutal. Make it a cauldron
at 3 a.m. That's. I think that'll be the part where you stumble at, Kevin. That's the one thing you haven't thought about your plan.
Because you'll have breakfast, you'll have morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea,
supper,
dinner, supper, and then after supper you still have a couple of overs.
Can I just say, if you play in India, you don't have to go for that long. It'll anyways finish in 2.5 days, so you don't have.
But it'll be spectacular because it'll all happen in one day, right?
The 24-hour test. I mean, it's definitely worth a try.
Le Mans.
I could be wrong here, Kevin, but I think it was Sunny Gavaskar who suggested, why don't you play 100 overs in the day or 110 overs in the day instead of 90, rather than wasting time on drinks and everything, Why don't you sort of actually, say, we're going to have 100 overs in the day. And then you look at the average of last, Test matches in the last 3 to 4 years. They normally finish about 300 to 320 overs. And you could get the result in 3 days or 3.5 days or whatever that the case may be.
Yeah.
So, I think that is a valid point.
Now with the sweep shot, I think certain shots, it's kind of like, when you're playing backyard cricket, if you hit it on the full outside, it's an automatic wicket. Same sort of deal. If you play the reverse sweep, it's an automatic out.
Oh, dear. 0 all out? Does that
innings defeat.
-1 run.
-1. Jeez, get into cricket rules and start doing -5s and double wickets. I think double wickets should be a thing in cricket. Get both batsmen out at the same time. That would be a hell of a move.
Yeah, I do like the double run out. It's kind of like a baseball thing, where you can get the double.
You can get
So I like the idea of having a fielding option, which just destroys a batting lineup.
Yeah, completely swings the game, right? It's like.
Yeah.
How about balls never dead, like indoor cricket? Balls never dead.
So what? Even if it hits the fence?
Yeah, balls never dead. If you leave your crease, you're out. You can get out.
Yeah, but then okay, that might work. If we do it, if we do it for Test cricket, it would be one thing.
Yeah. No, look, I'm just trying to make the game shorter. I think
it would be great for T20 cricket, and then someone tonks the ball out of the ground, and it's like rolling away. It's like I can't get the ball back.
Running. Just keep on running.
Just keep going. We keep running. We keep adding more to the 6.
Yeah. And that's how you make 300 runs in a game.
Yeah, if you check the stats, Ali, I think the maximum runs on one ball was 300 something. When the ball was stuck in a tree and they kept running.
Yeah. I think they ran like 12 or something like that. No,
it was a lot more than that.
Oh, really?
Actually, I'll pull up. I'll find and I'll post it in the group.
I believe there's a ground in England. I can't remember the name, where they had a tree in the ground.
Oh, that is South Africa. No, that's Kenya. That's in Kenya.
In Kenya?
Yeah.
And I believe reading that one of the rules was that if you hit the ball into the tree or through the tree, and if a leaf falls out of the tree, then you're out. So,
do you have to catch the leaf? Or is
no, if the leaf falls, so if you disturb the tree to damage a leaf, you're out. So you can obviously hit the ball into the tree, but if you hit it and a leaf falls out, so you've disrupted it enough, you're out. But the tree was in the ground, like in the boundary.
I think
I'll have to dig up that ground.
Yeah, I think there's some OH&S stuff that needs to be taken care of before we start playing trees in the middle of grounds.
So here's a stat for you guys. I found it. On 15th of Jan 1894, the maximum run scored on one ball is 286. The ball was stuck in one of the branches of a tree inside the ground, and they just kept running before an axe and a rifle were brought to the ground to get the ball down. Well, it's a stat.
It is. Sorry. So the one I was talking about is about the Kent cricket ground.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah.
Sorry, mine was in Kenya. Mine was South Africa, and on that ground, if you hit the tree, it's a 4, regardless of where you hit the ball from the tree.
Well,
286.
Now that we've reverse sweeped all the way back around, I think it's a good spot to call this an end. Thank you very much, Kevin, Shivank, and Sid, for joining us and talking Test cricket and all the variations we can do with it. If you want to get sports nerdy with the team, you can join us on our socials at the Back Pass Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you very much.